Welcome to the Kent Lapp Podcast.
Let's come back to just some of the trends we're seeing kind of in America now. Sometimes it seems like there's a segment of the population, large segment of the population now, that is forgetting some of the values of capitalism. And it's leaning more towards socialism. Do you see, I mean, you're a business guy and capitalism has treated you well and there's clear benefits there. Do you feel like our capitalism in America is as it should be? Do you feel like there's some more refining to do? What are your thoughts on some of those trends now?
Yeah, my immediate answer is I don't know because I don't have the data. My intuition is there's not as big a movement as the media would have you believe. When I look at just the geographics of America, and we'll go back to those same states, California, Illinois, New York, New Jersey, and if you want, we can toss, Washington in there. There's obviously an influencing factor in the population that leans to more progressive ideas like that. I would say California is different than New York. And I would say that Illinois doesn't know what it wants to be because it's such a disaster. California and New York still think that they're alive and they matter. They think they influence everything, in America. But if you take a look at, one of my intuition, what it's built on. So I look at just the migration of population. So in this last year, 4 million people have left California, Illinois, and New York. And they all have moved to Texas, Tennessee, and Florida. So there's a migration out of these cities. There's not a lot of good data on who are these people that are leaving. Are they progressive oriented and they just, are tired of whatever the circumstances are, but they want to bring their progressive ideas to where they're going? Are they reformed progressives? Been there, done that. Okay, now I'm gonna, move more in the direction of conservatives. Or are they the conservative folks that are in these states that just know they have to get out? There really isn't any good data on that. Mm-hmm. So you got to stay at the macro level from my perspective and say, well, in the states in the U.S. where there is a heavy push for this progressive socialist kind of movement, there's a pretty big migration out of those states. Mm-hmm. That's what causes me to believe it's not as big a movement as the media might make us think it is. Mm-hmm. Now, I could be wrong, but people aren't bailing out of places that they're excited about.
Yeah, you're right about that. Now, let me ask you this. Why would the media want to portray a more socialistic mentality in America? What's behind that? What's the motive? Why would they want to do that? Why would they want to push that agenda to begin with?
I'm going to give you the I don't know answer again. Here's my intuition. Let's take a segment and let's call it faith-based people. There are faith-based people that are progressive and there are faith-based people that are more conservative when it comes to what I call social issues. So there's a mindset on the progressive side that says we need to love people better. We need to do more things for people. Then on the conservative side of the faith-based movement, there is a view of we absolutely need to love people while we're holding them accountable and they're accepting responsibility for their own lives. That's pretty different kind of worldviews. So I think there are two worldviews in America. Now, if I go over here to this progressive worldview that says we need to do things, that's where you start drilling down into, okay, so how does that get done? From a government point of view, there's a mindset that, well, let's let government help figure that out. Let's funnel it through taxes into the government and allow them the opportunity to do that. So you hear all of these talking points about, well, if I'm a Democrat, healthcare matters and the Affordable Care Act is all that matters. Well, there's all kinds of issues, and it isn't about the Affordable Health Care Act. It's about everybody should have health insurance. So I think you've got this divide that exists that isn't so much. I would contend that there's a whole populace that might fall into this, what you're calling socialist mindset, that don't even know what socialist is. What they know is, I got a big heartstring, and I'd like to help people that need help. And all these politicians are telling me we can do it. We have the capacity to do it. So I want to believe, that is going to happen. And over time, when those promises don't get fulfilled, things change. I mean, look at what Trump has pulled off, even with, the diverse communities today, whether it's, the African-American community, the Hispanic community. I mean, 8 years ago, who would have thunk that, a third of folks in those communities would vote Republican again?
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're at a place now where things just move faster. So this idea of socialism in the media has moved faster, but it'll have its sunset. Mm-hmm. And then the next thing, will surface. And that's where my intuition is. On the, if I put my fear factor up, the fear for me would be that from a government control point of view, that sector gets so much control of the government that they make changes that are fundamental in the government that we won't ever recover from. Mm-hmm. So I think I don't think it's about the number of people. I think it's about the influence and the ability for that small number of people to control things. And I think that's the worry that a lot of people have with the Democratic Party today. Even if you want to say Joe Biden's a nice guy, which I don't think. I think he's a corrupt politician, but there you go. I'm saying what I think again. But even if you want to say, he's a nice guy, and he's the guy, he's your crazy uncle that you want to just hang out with and throw your arms around. The worry is, well, the people sitting in the wings that have his ear that are trying to influence it, they're still going to be around. And if he folds and implements some of those kinds of things, there may be no coming back. Mm. So I think it's more an issue of influence and power than it is size of that populace.
Yeah. Now, is there one of the great things about our government is that we have these checks and balances, but how have we gotten to the place now where the Democratic Party has the ability to take over or get enough of a control there that could damage some of those checks and balances permanently?
Well, here's the simple thing. It's in the election. And I would just ask you to remember, politicians lie. Sorry, they just do.
Yep.
Hillary Clinton ran as a centrist. She didn't run as a progressive socialist. Joe Biden is trying to run as a centrist. Mm. So what they do is, when it comes to the point of an election process, they try and present themselves as somebody closer to the middle. Mm-hmm. And they deny that they're moving in one direction or another. That's what worries me.
Yeah, that makes sense. But why? So our checks and balances have been so good for so many years. Why is it now at risk? That's kind of my question. Is it because we've had some kind of just drift over a long period of time, and now that drift is getting to a critical kind of tipping point?
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm an expert in any of this. I just would make an observation. Do not discount the impact that 8 years of Barack Obama had on this country. He came into office as an inspirational figure, almost bigger than life. And he won the hearts of the centrists in America, not just the Democrats, but some centrist Republicans and the young people. And that gave him a platform to make a lot of fundamental changes across a period of 8 years in government. So the starting point, when you think about it for Biden, if he were to win, isn't from zero. He's starting already from a strong place because these changes have been made. If you go before Barack Obama, so whether you're dealing with the Bushes or you go back to Clinton, Clinton was a centrist. Apart from dismantling, the national defense, I mean, he's the guy that took it, the army from 1 million people to 500,000 people to use the money, for something else. Apart from that, he was pretty much a capitalist. He was all about get the economy going. He did some tax cuts. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until Barack Obama became president that we had this socialist movement.
Yeah. And by the way, Clinton spent a whole lot more money on cops.
He did. Yeah.
So he was not this idea of like defunding or lowering funding for the police that was not what Clinton was about. He hired a whole bunch. Yeah,
and the only point I'm trying to make is this is something that started over 12 years ago now. Mm-hmm. Because Trump's been in for 4. He's been fighting it his whole 4 years.
Yeah.
It wasn't like this thing just surfaced. This is a result of 8 years of
that's
changes.
Interesting perspective. Yeah, that is interesting. Very interesting.